All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Live real estate and mortgage Q&A. The more questions you ask, the better this next 30 or 40 minutes is going to be. So if you're watching this live, ask away. If you're watching this on replay, you can leave comments, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, and I'll do my best to get in there and answer those questions because there's no better time than now to ask a real, gosh, English language is so hard. If you want to answer to something and it involves real estate or mortgage, you don't want an answer from 3 months ago. That's why I think these live sessions are so valuable, because in my world, in mortgage, I might have given you an answer 18 months ago about a mortgage guideline, about the current state of the market and how to structure mortgages, or just any old thing. And things change rapidly. In real estate, between June and November, we've got a vastly different real estate market in most parts of the country. And, in mortgage, it's the same thing. Mortgage regulations change. They become tighter, they become looser, more products come out, products get taken off of the shelf where something you might have been able to do 3 years ago, you can't do today. November 18th, a prime example of a new product coming to market. We've got 5% down on 2 to 4 units with Fannie Mae, owner occupied. So you got to live in one of the units, but that is coming as a conventional product. It's going to be updated this weekend. That's why the release date is November 18th, because over the weekend, Fannie adjusts, their automated underwriting system to now allow 5% down. So next Monday, when we're on here, that is going to be live. Also, in regards to next Monday, I've got my buddy Bobby Peterson, active real estate agent, active investor. This guy's involved with, Pace Morby Subject 2 group. This guy's involved with local flips. This guy's involved with resale, whether it is helping buyers buy, helping sellers sell. So the best advice, in my opinion, comes from somebody actively out there doing the work. Whether you want to ask him questions about investment properties and where he's finding investments, how to structure investments, or whether you want to talk to him about, being a buyer or a seller of real estate, active. And the best advice comes from people that are actually doing it. So thank you, Brian Adams. I appreciate you. Super chat allows me to, come home with a little extra pep in my step. Tell my kids that, somebody's watching me on YouTube, and some people even like me enough to give me a super chat. So I appreciate that, brother. What'd you say down here? Your boss is trying to talk you into something? Well, my boss is trying to talk me into buying a house on his street once the owner decides to sell, because he wants to buy some of the acres in the back of the home from me. It's on 17 acres. Wow. I think you told me in a past, was it you were looking around Massachusetts, or is that somebody else? Remind me where you're at, Brian. I'd be interested to see. And then, 17 acres. Not a lot of areas in California where you can buy a house that's on 17 acres, but subdivide it and sell your boss some of the acreage to offset your cost. That might be a strategy. He and his family own most of the land on that road. They're pig farmers. How should I structure a deal like that? Well, I'm no expert in subdividing, but if you talk to any great real estate agent who's done business in the area for any length of time, they should be able to point you in the right direction. My understanding, simplified version of it, is you're going to buy this property on 17 acres. You're going to go to the county and say, I want to subdivide this. I want to hold on to these 3 acres and the house that's on it, subdivide these other acres, and then sell it. You'll have to check too, because when you get financing on a property that sits on 17 acres, and you go and rearrange and subdivide and sell off some, the lender might have something to say about that. So make sure you talk to all the parties: lender who's lending on your current place, and then of course local real estate agents, developers, the county, on how to do that. The home is in New Hampshire. Sweet. How much does something on 17 acres cost in New Hampshire? I'm curious. Okay. If you are a watcher of interest rates, which I don't really spend as much time as people might think worrying about where interest rates are and all that stuff. Interest rates were pretty flat today. 7.58. It's kind of the nationwide average. Tomorrow's the day, though. CPI, inflation, coming out tomorrow. If it comes in hot, meaning higher than people expect, that's going to be bad for interest rates. If it comes in lower, it's going to be very good for interest rates. There's a core inflation number and overall inflation number are the two numbers. And I think, if I remember correctly, they expect core inflation to go up 0.1%. These are expectations. And they expect, what's the other one called? Core inflation, and there's one other one. You guys remind me. You got all the smart people in the comments. But depending on where inflation lands versus those expectations, you can expect there to be a reaction in the mortgage bond market. Inflation comes in higher than expected, rates will be pushed higher. Comes in lower than expected, rates will be pushed down. So stay tuned. Tomorrow should be a relatively action-packed day in the world of mortgage bonds. I mean, if they come in right where they're expected, maybe there's not much action at all or move. All right. Alex, thanks for joining, brother. I appreciate you. Hope all is well with you. With my home and ZIP program from CalHFA, would I still need to have funds from out of pocket to cover down payment and closing costs? Show example, please. Okay. I've got your back, Alex, and I don't even know if I need to show an example. You know what? Maybe I will. Because I know, knowing me and my fabulous team, we have Excel templates. Purchase template. Where are we? For specific CalHFA, but we put it side by side with an Empower down payment assistance program that's nationwide. You don't have to be just in California. So, yep, here we go. Down payment assistance, EPM versus CalHFA. Let me preface this, Alex, and anybody else who's listening and has questions about down payment assistance. As you would probably imagine, hopefully, there is no free lunch. Getting down payment assistance means you are going to pay in some other way, whether it's more fees, higher interest rate, or something. Don't expect to get down payment assistance and not give anything in return. Another thing, Alex, that I'll warn you about, which is probably something that is going to really hurt in your specific scenario, to be quite honest, you're going to qualify for much less because they've got one, stricter guidelines, and two, interest rates are generally going to be, well, I shouldn't say that. Interest rates wouldn't necessarily be higher. I'm just pulling this up. 30-year fixed Cal plus FHA. Cal Zip in my home. All right, let's do this. Delete. All right. As requested, Alex, I'm going to pull up an example. I've got side by side a CalHFA My Home and Zip. Present. Let me see. Here we go. Hopefully you can view this. On my screen, it looks really, really tiny. Hopefully on your screen, you can see it better. But you'll see here, Alex, maybe I'll even do 700,000. Make it closer to something that's going to be in your neck of the woods. When you go 700,000 and principal, interest, tax insurance, mortgage insurance, all in, 0.55. Yeah, that's correct. You can structure this in a way where you get seller credit of, this is less than 2% of the purchase price, and come to the closing table with very little out of pocket. So to answer your question, like, do you need money out of pocket? Not necessarily. But since you're financing essentially 100% of it, why do these look so close? Oh, you just need more credit on this side. Okay. So this is our Empower program where you get a true 3.5% grant, never to be paid back. And this is Cal HFA where you've got the 3.5% down payment assistance plus 2%, which is the ZIP program to cover a lot of the closing costs, or at least the vast majority of them. Only difference in these two cases is you'll have a silent second and third that you'll have to pay off with the Cal HFA. And with the EPM True Grant, that 3.5% is immediately forgiven. So these two things side by side, it would make sense to go EPM Empower program all day, every day. And I don't have it in front of me, Alex, but this $6,100 payment at 700,000 is going to have to stay below a certain DTI. It might be 45 or 50 on Cal HFA. I haven't looked at that one recently. A little bit more flexible on EPM's program, but with Cal HFA, you're going to have a $24,000 and a $13,000 second and third. I personally don't like that because if interest rates go down, but home prices don't increase a bunch over the next couple of years, refinancing this is going to be really, really hard. I saw people in 20 and 21 that were in a tough spot because rates were 3%. They had a Cal HFA loan at 5 or 6% that they could not refinance because the second and third that had to be paid off to refinance, the numbers just didn't pencil. So watch out for that. Hopefully that, Alex, thanks for the question, man. I appreciate it. Eccentric, thanks for joining. Generally speaking, I'm all residential 1 to 4 unit property as a mortgage broker. I've got access to some commercial stuff. And by commercial, I mean, we've got 5 to 24 unit DSCR loans that would be considered commercial at a couple of our lenders like ACRA and NewFi, as far as like financing office buildings and things like that. That is going to be best suited for a true commercial lender, which I've got great friends that work in commercial banking, and I refer them that type of stuff when it comes across my desk. I prefer to stay in my lane and do really, really good work around residential 1 to 4 unit stuffs. So hopefully that answered it. AJ, hi there. Fire away, man. The best Q&A involves a lot of Q on your guys' side. Then I give the A. So ask away with your questions. As far as like real estate market in general, I've got more buyers that are really excited right now than I've had all year because the type of deals that people are putting together second half of November, all of December, and probably into January are deals that, one, didn't exist May, June, and July, and two, will not exist come February and March when more buyer demand comes back into the market. More buyer demand will come into the market every single year as you go from January to February, February to March, March to April. That is an absolute certainty if you pair the increase in buyer demand that's seasonal. If you put that with an environment where we could see interest rates declining, it's going to add more fuel to that fire. So take that for what it is. It means that like next year, especially March, April, May, June, could be very competitive. If we still have low amounts of inventory and we've got more buyers because of seasonality and because of interest rates. Like I told people, currently, right now, November of 2023, you've got a time in the seasonality of real estate where there's less buyers, more buyers in spring and summer, less buyers in fall and winter. So there's less buyers because of seasonality, and you're pushing down demand even more because rates are high. If the opposite thing happens and seasonality says more buyers are coming back and lower interest rates goes more buyers because of lower interest rates, it's going to push demand up, and that just causes competition. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that, hey, if I'm going and looking at a house nobody else is bidding on in November in 2023, there's a chance I can get a deal on it. If I go to that same house in April and there's 14 other people that want to make an offer, I'm probably going to have to pay more. I'm probably going to pay a premium when I'm competing against 14 others versus just me in November. So that's my subtle warning to people that if you're looking for a deal, if you're looking to get into a home and you can choose now or April, I'd probably choose now. As much as I said that last year, people did not heed the advice. They went out and bought in spring and found out the hard way that it was a lot harder to buy than it was in the fall and winter months. So, Alex, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Let me know if you got any follow-up questions. You know where to reach us. We're happy to help. All right. What's the current competitive residential home loan rate? This is a great question, AJ, and I'm not going to talk shit to you specifically, but this is the question that people ask. And the answer is whatever the heck you want it to be, right? I've got this great menu of rates. And if you're buying something as a primary residence, you pick, man. You want 599? All yours. You want 8.25? I got that too. Everything in between, you can have. So you just tell me 599, 8.25. The problem with a question that's as vague as that is that it leaves you open to somebody on my side who's not a sweetheart of an individual and as open and honest as me, giving you bad information. And I'll show you what bad information looks like if you give me a minute here to run some numbers. There is, well, let me do this. There is a price associated with each interest rate. And so quickly, maybe you're buying something for 500,000 and you're putting 20% down. So you're financing 400,000. I might say 7.75 doesn't cost you. Okay. I just saw your question, so I'm going to get to it quicker than the normal. That's a great question, AJ. How do I know I'm not getting taken for a ride? I'm going to divert and I'm going to answer your question specific. I'll come back if anybody wants to go through a specific scenario where I can kind of show you the rate stack. What I would do if I was you, AJ, is Mortgage News Daily is close enough for government work. You go there, you click on mortgage rates, you click on 30-year, and you'll see kind of the average. Know that this average includes some points being paid. Know that this average also is going to assume that you've got pretty good credit. And so let me do this just for the good of the cause. I'm going to share my screen for anybody who is like, wait, what'd you say? Here's the quickest way to just get a rough idea. Mortgage News Daily. Mortgage rates. This gives you like the average nationwide. 7.58. That's where people are locking a 30-year fixed rate conventional loan. You go to 30-year and you even pull up this fancy chart where it shows you like the Mortgage News Daily average. Look at that. A couple weeks ago it was up to 8%. Now we're back down to 7.5-ish. The problem though with this, AJ, and the best way to know if you're getting taken for a ride is you have to look at the cost for the interest rate and the interest rate. Because if I told you I've got a 7.6% and there's no upfront cost for the rate, that would be a phenomenal rate. Because truth be told, this 7.58 here is going to have cost associated with it. Call it a point. $400,000 loan, it might cost $4,000 for this. But if you didn't know any better, somebody would say, listen, I've got a 7.25. Way better than that guy that's pitching you the 7.58. But he's not mentioning the fact that in box A of a loan estimate, the cost for that rate is $12,000. So it's 3 points. And points are just 1 point is 1% of the loan amount. So 3 points, $400,000 loan, $12,000. Now, that would not be a good deal because the difference between 7.25 and 7.58 on that size loan amount is less than $100 in payment, and you're paying $12,000 to save whatever it is. Call it $80 a month. You're not going to be in that loan for 15 or 16 years for that to ever pencil. So that would be taken for a ride. I've got a video, and at one point I named it like compare apples to apples. Matt, the mortgage guy, the mortgage. I didn't realize I was typing and it's up there, but here, why not? Videos. Because I was trying to show somebody how to compare loans. We probably got to use Google. Google likes me better than Yahoo. Google knows who Matt the mortgage guy is. Compare loans, Matt the mortgage guy. Where do we go to videos? There we go. How to compare mortgage offers. This is an old video, but it's a good one. How to compare mortgage offers. And basically it's rate, cost, and fees. Don't worry about any of the other stuff. I did this originally. I think that it was for comparing refinance. I'll put a link to this in the comments. And hopefully this helps. Oh yeah, see, comparing loans apples to apples. I named it that, but then nobody searches comparing apples to apples. So comparing loan officers was a better play. Okay, comparing video. I should probably do another one of these because this one's 4 years old and the audio, from what I heard, sounded horrendous. But anyway, hopefully that helps, AJ. You can even go to like Google, and I think there's a function in there where you can type in like your state and your credit score, because that's going to matter, right? So if you type in here $400,000 loan amount. You're putting 25% down. You're in California. And let's say you got like a 780 credit score, like 7.772 is what it's saying here. Then you're like, you know what? I'm 685, 8.48%. And 30-year, 15-year. See, nobody does ARMs. ARMs are the same friggin' rate. Look at that. For the time being, ARMs are higher. This is, I think this might be similar to the CFPB's functionality. But it doesn't talk about if there's any points or anything. But this is probably a decent enough one, right? Just go to Google, type in mortgage rates. You get this little calculator. You could put in your loan amount, your down payment, and your credit score. Then you're like, all right, I got a 740. Because that does factor into it, AJ, and everybody listening. If you got a 680, your rate's going to be different than if you have an 800 credit score. And if you put 25% down, your rate's going to be different if you put 3% down. So hopefully that was useful. You know what you can always do too, AJ, if you want, if you're like, am I getting taken to the cleaners? Fire me an email to matt@mtmg.com and I'll take a look at it. I did that last week for some people. Relatively easy. You know, you're working with a mortgage broker. They're sending it to the same lenders I'd be sending it to. I look at it and I go, yep, you're in good shape, right? There might be a retail lender in your market that just has big margins. And, you know, so that would be the scenario where you're like, am I getting taken to the cleaners? I'd be like, yeah. That happens more often, honestly, with VA and FHA loans. Government loans, companies will operate on bigger margins because they're less competitive than the conventional stuff where buyers are a little bit more rate conscious. That's just a dirty little secret of the industry. And so, you know, you look at Summit Funding and their VA rate versus a mortgage broker who has the ability to broker it to the best VA lenders in the country, you're going to find a pretty big discrepancy. So there's that. All right. Nobody else has any questions. I'm going to get back to work. I've got some agents to call. Maybe next week too, we'll talk about what I'm seeing more of is these home bid, usahomebids.com, auction.com. It's a popular way to sell a home in some parts of the country. So be interested to see if you guys have seen any of that. Gabriel Harris, can a first-time home buyer use their savings cash for a loan and use a down payment assistance program to have a higher down payment percentage? You could, but you wouldn't want to. If you had 5% of your own money and a down payment assistance program was giving you 3.5%, you would be far, far better served from a better loan with a cheaper payment and no seconds and thirds on the back end of it, doing 5% down on your own than doing 8.5% with the down payment assistance. If you missed any of the stuff I said up front, down payment assistance is great if that's your only option. If you have other options, trust me, I've scrubbed these things. There's no free lunch. There was the only time I've seen a true free lunch and down payment assistance, besides the EPM Empower program, which is a true 3.5% grant. We have that. The only other time is when there was that $8,000 tax credit that was given to kind of re-stimulate the housing market, whether that was 2010 or 2011. I can't remember when, but you know, you got an $8,000 true free money if you went out there and purchased a house. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Have a great day. Gabrielle, thank you, AJ, for the questions. I appreciate you. Thanks again to my boy, Brian Adams, for the very generous super chat. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day. And we'll see you next Monday with Bobby Peterson talking investment real estate. Until next time, We gonna see.